Flour Fumble. One evening, Percy arrived home at the sheds. He was hoping for peace and quiet, but unfortunately for him, James was in yet another boastful mood. Sir Topham Hatt asked me to pull the vans of flour especially, he gloated. What's so special about vans of flour? Grunted Gordon. It's the bakery's biggest order ever, that's what, said James smugly. What's going on? Percy whispered to Thomas. James was given a special for tomorrow, sighed Thomas. Why does James get a special while I always get dirty jobs? Percy complained. Perhaps your dirty jobs are the reason, said James. I wouldn't think the bakers would want you getting any soot and grime mixed with their flour. Paw, huffed Percy, and went to sleep. The next morning, Percy was in the yard shunting. James came puffing in importantly. I have a passenger run next. As soon as I come back, I want my flour vans ready with no delay. This special will not be late. James left to fetch his coaches. Bossy boiler, thought Percy. Just ignore him, Percy, said his driver. Don't let his attitude ruin yours. But Percy wasn't thinking about his attitude. He was thinking of a way to pay James out. Later, Percy was still in the yard when he heard a familiar pair of whistles. Bill and Ben, the tank engine twins, bustled in with a delivery of china clay. Percy was still cross about James. What's the matter with you? Asked Bill. You look redder than you are green, added Ben. Percy explained about James. Typical big engines, said Bill. Always thinking they can push us around, complained Ben. The twins then looked at each other and smirked. You should play a trick to get back at him, they said. Yes, agreed Percy. But what should it be? The twins thought and thought. I know, said Ben at last. Hide the van so he has to fetch them himself. What a good idea, replied Percy. Thank you, twins. And Percy hurried away to find the vans at once. Content with their good deed, the twins scampered off for home. Percy came up alongside two vans with faded paint being loaded. The men were loading the last sacks of flour. Please be careful, said the foreman. These vans are old. Percy ran over the points and backed onto the vans. I'll hide them in the goods shed, he chuckled to himself. Come on, Percy, let's move these where they won't be in the way, said his driver. Percy began to push the vans back towards the goods shed. He was eager to play his trick and was hurrying. Careful, Percy, called his driver. We should slow down. We're still in the yard. But Percy was too busy thinking about James searching for a special to bother with his speed. Stop, Percy, shouted the driver and applied the brakes, but it was too late. Smash! The rear van was in pieces, and flour was everywhere. Percy was coated from bunker to smokebox. Oh no! Coughed Percy. I didn't mean for that to happen. James is sure to laugh at me now. But James wasn't laughing when he saw the mess. What have you done to one of my vans? He demanded. But before Percy could explain, another voice spoke. I'm wondering just the same thing, thundered Sir Topham Hatt. You created quite a fine mess, Percy. Now the bakery's order can't be fulfilled, and some won't be able to have their morning biscuits. You shall go to your shed to be cleaned, and stay there until you are wanted. Percy sighed. A cloud of flour rolled off his front. His funnel felt stuffy, and he wanted to sneeze. He still couldn't understand why flour was so important, but he definitely understood how uncomfortable it was. Eventually, workmen arrived to help clean up the mess in the goods shed. Percy wheezed sadly home to the sheds. Thomas was there waiting for him. You've been covered in lime, hay, fruit, chocolate, and now flour. Whatever will be next? Percy hoped it would be nothing.